Ariane Maurice was enjoying life as the owner of a small bakery in Rosemont. That was until the building where she rented was sold. Immediately, her new landlord informed her that he'd be raising her rent considerably at the end of her lease. She says, "I knew I didn't have any recourse once my lease ended. I could have called a lawyer or done something else, but I had no recourse. The landlord was completely within his rights." Maurice's micro-business couldn't withstand relocating, so she was forced to close. That's because Quebec law protects residential renters, but not commercial tenants from steep rent hikes. That means landlords can double or even triple rents at the end of commercial leases if they so choose. And they can leave the storefront vacant and wait for a business willing to pay the big bucks. Commercial development consultant Glenn Castanera says rent control is one element, but should not be considered the only solution to dealing with an increasing vacancy rate.
Increasing rents only explains a small portion of all these artificial vacant businesses. Rent control will not fix a landlord kicking out a tenant refusing to renew his lease. Rent control will not fix the problem of many cases of businesses shutting down because the building is not well kept, well maintained.
Castanera says tackling the larger issue starts with having enough data. He points to New York City as an example. The commercial vacancy rate on the city's bustling Fifth Avenue is nearly 25%. To compare it to Montreal, Castanera studied the plateau and estimates that it has a vacancy rate of around 10%. After years of mulling over rent control, New York has decided to create a vacancy registry to deal with their crisis. It will provide a clearer picture of how many storefronts are vacant and the reasons why. Castanera says Montreal needs to have a similar database.
So the first thing, if we really want to tackle the problem of commercial vacancy, which is a serious problem, which will only get worse in the years to come, we first need to start by having the data to then make an enlightened decision to correct the issue.
But Quebec's Property Owners Corporation argues that owning property and renting it is as much a business as the one it houses. They say restricting rent simply wouldn't be fair.
Stores and restaurants, and they want to have a free market. They determine what are the prices of their products and services based on the demand. So the supply and the demand meet each other at a reaching point, and there is the price. So they work in such a market. We don't see why we should have a controlled market for renting commercial buildings. So it wouldn't make sense.
Maurice just hopes that the city's efforts to improve the situation will result in better protection for businesses like the one she once owned. She says it's really up to the municipal and provincial governments to protect its small merchants because we're the ones who give spirit to the city. It isn't the subways of the world that give spirit to the city and the neighborhood. Giordano Cescutti, Citylife, Rosemont, La Petite Patrie.